Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I have a very interesting review impressions for you of a knife that was lent to me by a user. This is the Spyderco Kapara. Really cool little knife that I have enjoyed having the opportunity to kind of handle, fidget with just a little bit. And I didn't really carry it because it's not my knife and I don't want to do any sort of damage to it whatsoever, but it is a beautiful knife and it's something that typically I probably would not have sought out to get a hold of, but this particular knife was something that I thought the aesthetic was very interesting. So let's first talk a little bit about the impressions of the knife. We already talked about the knife, the manufacturer, the designer of this particular knife. Interestingly enough, came with the Spyderco box material, and it talked about it. The name is Alistair Phillips, and he's a native Australian who makes a living as a computer game developer and a designer. He also does interactive exhibits in museums, and when he's not behind a keyboard or something, he's handcrafting custom folding knives and stuff. So I guess this is a guy who did a lot of scouting when he was young and got into it and really kind of took a course at it and loved it. So he designed this knife, and it's a very unique knife. It is made in let's see here. It's made by Spyderco in the Taiwan plant, which, if you know, that's a step up from China, right? So that's not really China proper. That's Taiwan, which is still, a relatively free country. I guess you can see here's his little signature on the knife, which is really cool. And it's just a unique blade shape. It kind of, I don't know if it looks like a penguin or it looks like a stork or something, but it's got the finger choil typical for Spyderco. You can choke up, you can definitely do a full push cut. The blade steel is CPM S30V steel, so that is crucible metal material, and it is S30. And some people will be like, well, that's old steel, whatever. I get it. It's not one of the newer premium steels, but you have to remember this is Spyderco, and Spyderco does such an outstanding job of their heat treat that I would dare say, and I think some people would not necessarily disagree with me, that their S30V heat treated steel is probably better than some of the other higher end like S35 maybe, and even S45 VN steels that are out there by some of the manufacturers and knife makers who don't heat treat their steel well. Spyderco just does an outstanding job of heat treat, and I can tell you from honing and sharpening, this thing is ridiculously sharp. It is like a razor blade, right? Awesome. And a beautiful full flat grind, as you can see. It doesn't have thumb holes, but it has a typical Spidey hole. It's the round hole that allows you for the spider hole type of opening and closing. It is a compression lock, which is like a frame lock, but reversed, right? So the frame lock engages inside the tang of the blade, but it's on the back instead for the inside, and it works very similarly. It's on phosphor bronze washers, which is really quite beautiful. Now this is locked in there. There's no blade rock, so it's solid in there, and when it does lock in, we can see the detent. Now, if you will, compression locks, they do have a detent ball on there, so it truly does have a true detent. So as I close this, it's going to engage the detent. The detent ball is going to engage into the detent hole. And you can hear that. So that's what it does right there. So there you go. That's the detent. And it is a nice cutaway, especially for the Spidey hole on both sides, so it's very easy to reverse flick. And the nice thing about compression lock, it's great left-handed, right-handed. And because it uses the wire clip that has the screw and it's available on both sides, this is great for lefty or right-handed people. It is the deep carry pocket wire clip. Not one of my favorites. I typically, if I buy something like this, I'll get one of the Lynch clips that replaces that. I've done that on several other knives. Not necessarily a fan of the wire clips because they tend to shift and bend on me. I like something a little more titanium that has more spring. I wish they would do a little more robust version of this, maybe in titanium, but it's a favorite for many, and it is very useful, and it's very easy to get in and out of the pocket with the wire clip. There's a lot of benefit to it, and I understand that. If you're going to make this a user knife, a carry knife, a wire clip is a great alternative. It really is. I can't disagree with that. But I do like the compression lock. This compression lock is relatively easy to access, if you can see. Sometimes, like on my Para 3 and my Para 2, a military Para 2, or my smock, the smock now has a, if you will, oops, a piece of paper just flew over there. My Spyderco smock has it's a button lock to the compression lock. So it's a button compression lock. So it's still a compression lock, but the button engages it, which is, you know, kind of was revolutionary at the time, but really cool. And I wish they would do more of that. I think there's a limited edition of the Para 3 that actually has that button compression lock as well already set. That would be cool if they had more of those, right? But yeah, so the cutaway is great. It's easy to access, and if you know about this, you can easily do the spider flick like that. And if you know with the compression, you can close it kind of like an axis lock or a button lock, right? So that's always nice. I do like that. The handle, the scales are contoured, and this is a beautiful carbon fiber. This is not peel ply, layered twill carbon fiber on top of G10. This is true carbon fiber. Now it's a little thinner because it's got steel liners, but it is true carbon fiber, and it's done well. I think this is not twill. This is more I want to say weaved carbon fiber. It's not twill necessarily, but definitely weaved. And it's not marble because there's definitely a pattern there. I didn't see a whole lot of voids. There might be some microscopic, but everything looked really well filled in, beautifully smooth. Great job on that. Everything is fit and flushed. Really outstanding. You know, the Taichung Taiwan plant did an outstanding job. This knife came in dead center. This was a user knife for the gentleman who let me borrow it, and it's still dead center, held up really well. Put a little bit of 85 weight nano oil on there, help that loosen right up. You know, with phosphor bronze, if you let them sit for a while, the phosphor will oxidize, and it will make it a little rougher, not as smooth. But you put a little oil on there, the action is beautiful, and you can see that it just closes very nicely when you get past that phosphor bronze. But it is phosphor bronze, so which is nice because you can roll open them, and you know, you can roll open them both sides. And some people, that's what they really like about Spydercos with the PB or the phosphor bronze washers. And you will definitely have that. Again, beautiful flat grind all the way up. They do an outstanding job all the way to the very top edge. I didn't think, can I? No, this is not as easy to get your finger in there and do a reverse flick, but you know, the Spidey hole is, and that's the nice thing about the Spyderco hole. It's just really functional, and it works really well, both right and left hand. It's so easy to flick and to actuate, if you will, to open and close it. So that's really nice. All right, so let's get into some measurements about the knife. We talked a little bit about it, so let's see how much this guy weighs. All right, so it's 3.34 ounces, just about a little over 3.3 ounces, just a little under 3.4 ounces, so 3.34, not bad at all. And let's take a look at the, let me get my ruler here. We'll look a little bit at the length of the blade, which I think if you're into ratios, this blade is better. It's better than the ratios, right? So at 3.34, it's at 3.5 inch for the blade cutting length, definitely. And if we do straight edge to there, we're just a little over 3.5. We're probably 3.55. I'm gonna guess. If you go from the tip all the way to the handle, you're probably, I want to say, you know, 3 5/8 probably, all the way to the very edge of the knife. It is going to be about 8 1/4 inches total length. So the handle, if you're inside the finger choil, you've got just under 4 inches. You're a little over 3 1/4 inches, probably. I'm going to say 3 7/8 maybe. And if you do the finger choil where you choke up, you then get almost over 4.5 inches, maybe 4 3/4 of an inch. So, you know, like I said, medium to medium large hands, extra large hands absolutely could fit this wonderfully. Just really, you know, fantastic as far as lengthwise. Definitely ratios are great if you're looking for ratios. And let me get my caliper out that I didn't get out of my little case here, because I was going to do a little measurement on the blade stock thickness. Let's do that. Oops, got a little dirt in here. All right, so make sure we're zeroed. There we go. Okay, so let's see where we're at. So we're at we're 119 hundredths of an inch. So, well, almost 120 hundredths of an inch. So we're definitely over 1/10 of an inch, but closer to 1/10 of an inch for sure than 2/10 of an inch. It's a pretty thin blade stock. It's definitely a nice slicer, as nice as that flat grind is all the way up. Really well. Now, I love the shape up here, the contour and all that stuff. really, really nice. So for that thickness, you know, we measured that thickness. Still, you can get nice thumb on here. Everything, it doesn't slide off. It is relatively sharp. It's not crazy sharp. They do soften the corners a little bit, but definitely you can spark your fire rod if you have a flint rod or something like that. All right, so let's talk about the knife category. Well, this is definitely going to be in the regular realm. I saw it around $250 if you can find it. It's kind of a, seems like a limited run. But there are a few places, and I'll have a link in the video below, where you can still get it, at least at the time when I was doing the video. But it's going to run around $250 now. And that, some people are like, well, that's CPM S30V. Well, remember, we already talked about this. The Spyderco heat treat is outstanding. You're not getting, you know, cheap S30V steel. You're getting, I think, really high-end S30V steel. They heat treat outstandingly. Also, the actual carbon fiber is really nice carbon fiber and a beautiful G10 insert. I think one of my subscribers had said that he based this off of the Black Widow, kind of with the red there. So I think maybe that was the inspiration for this. I guess we can sort of see that, right? Even though it may still look like a Pelican, like most Spydercos, they look like, I don't know, being Spyderco and a Black Widow, I guess Spyderco, Black Widow, maybe, you know, probably if you're going to model a knife after Spider, Black Widow would probably be a good one for a Spyderco anyways. So yeah, there we go. I love the pivot. I love that beautiful shape pivot. These are T8s, and it is looks like it's not a captive pivot, so you would need 2 screwdrivers. These are definitely all T8s all the way around. I did not take this knife apart. It's not mine. I would not do that. Even though the subscriber who allowed me to review and borrow this knife said I could, it's just too nice of a knife for me to do anything with it. You know, I felt like this, I would be disrespecting the knife if I were to beat it up or damage it or scratch it or anything like that. I just wanted to enjoy the feel of it, the action of the knife. I mean, I stropped it a little bit just to kind of hone the edge, and you know, with S30V steel treated really well, this edge is ridiculous. You can definitely, it's razor sharp, probably close to crazy sharp for sure. So great, great, great edge and great steel. Let's talk about the purpose. The purpose of this knife, I think this is absolutely a user EDC. It is a beater knife. It's something you can definitely use. It's not just a collection knife. And I do know that the subscriber who let me borrow this, that's exactly what they want to do. He wants to probably even maybe put some custom scales on there. Though personally, this is going to be a knife on my list of knives maybe to eventually get into my collection, because I love the scales. This is just one of the better contoured shape scales. I want to see some of their other designs, some of the other knife shapes. You know, maybe there's something that'll appeal a little more, but I do like this. It's very functional. It's very useful for cutting. It's really a great user tool. I mean, you have the beautiful, you know, precision cuts you can do right there. Absolutely a full slicer. It comes down to a beautiful thin edge, full flat grind. You know, I mean, it's not super crazy thin, but it's not. It's a nice straight thin edge, so it is very functional. I love the shapes, the ergonomics. Everything is nice and rounded. Even the corners here, which kind of come out abruptly, but they're still chamfered. So they're soft. Everything is soft. There's no hot spots. So for me, this is a purposefully built knife that I can use for everyday tools. If I'm working in a warehouse, cutting and opening boxes. If I'm working around the house, cutting open, you know, fertilizer and dirt bags. If I'm working in the yard, mulch or something. If I'm opening dog food, cat food kind of bags. I'm opening cases of water. Whatever you're doing, gift, Christmas presents, birthday presents, Amazon boxes, whatever. This is a really, really great user tool. So to me, the purpose is definitely EDC, everyday carry. Everything about it screams that. It's got great contours, great shape. You're going to have good control. You're not going to lose or slip this knife out of your hand. Nothing's going to be a hot spot for you, and it's definitely very comfortable and usable. It's not too small, and it's not too big. I think it has a lot of variety, a lot of appeal to a lot of different people. I think people with larger hands would really, really love this. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the ergos and the feel. All right, so the handle and the design is just simply gorgeous. I love the ergonomic shapes, the contour shapes. Absolutely stunning. Just, yeah, I can't speak well enough about it. This has given me a whole new appreciation for Spyderco, some of their unique designs. I'm definitely going to be checking out more. But this I really, really, really enjoyed a lot. The handle design is just It's just very functional. It's very comfortable. You can choke up easily. You can hold it easily. It works. Everything fits in, and I think it will fit in for any size hands. You can see I've got medium, medium, large hands. Definitely have enough room for a large, extra large, probably even double extra large. And you go up here and you choke up, you've got triple extra large. Giant hands can handle this knife very, very easily. All right, deployment, typical Spyderco, wonderful Spyderco hole flipping, reverse flicking, and then even the compression flipping. And then, of course, because it's compression lock, you can do the left hand, drop it down on the finger control with your left hand, close it, open it, which is always really nice, right? So opening and closing and is really nice. Because it's pretty tight, even though it's phosphor bronze, when you release that compression lock, it does release and drop the blade like a drop shot action, so that's really nice. But once that compression lock gets into place, you can definitely, it controls the drop, so it's not going to drop on you unless you hold it open the whole way, right? So if you decide to do that, you can release it and it'll lock in place with that detent very, very nicely. Closing design and cutaway and action for a phosphor bronze knife, it is outstanding. Outstanding. Everything fits well. The finish is outstanding. This reminds me of my smock, to be quite honest with you. My smock I love, and I thought everything about that was great. And it was also made in Taichung, right? So it's definitely a Taiwanese made knife, probably in the same facility. And this is just that. It has that same wonderful aesthetic and quality about it. So I would say all of that together with the closing action is as good as you can get for a phosphor bronze. I mean, short of, it were cage ceramic ball bearings. Now, my smock is on cage ceramic ball bearings, so it does have a little better drop action, no doubt. But for phosphor bronze, it is up there with my Para 3, my Paramilitary 2, and my Shaman, whatever you want to call it. I call it Shaman in honor of Nick Shabazz, so there you go. Fidget factor for me, because you have the compression lock, you have the Spidey holes. I would say you could probably give it this I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for the max fidgety factor you can get. So the fidget factor is you can get up to a 7 on this one for fidget factor, because it has just the thumb holes or Spidey holes, and it has the compression lock. And the compression lock is not as easy to work as a button lock always. It still works, right? You can still flick it open and stuff, but it's never as easy as that. Though this is a really good compression lock. Really nice relief here, very easy to access and to actuate. So I do like that. It's a much better compression lock than some of the other ones, right? But fidget factor for that 7 maximum, I would give it probably, I want to say it's probably 95%, maybe 90% out of that. So maybe 6.5 out of 7 for fidget factor. Spydercos are not always super, super fidgety. Some of them are, some of them aren't. The smock is definitely more. I mean, it has the thumb stud, it has the Spidey hole, it has the button compression lock. So I mean, that one's definitely going to be up there, probably a 9, if you will. It was probably one of my first super fidgety knives that I loved just going crazy with, right? But this is definitely a 7 out of 10 for maximum, and out of that maximum, I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10. So I'd say about 90% for fidget factor. But again, this seems more like a user knife. It's not like a really, high expensive fidget factor toy. It really is a user knife. Now, most of all my knives are user knives, right? Even my nicer knives, I'm going to still use. I may carry a 5th pocket knife, not to beat them up or bang them up, but this one, really feels like I could use this around the house, around whatever I'm doing. It'd definitely be a great work knife. So something to consider. My overall thoughts on this knife. Well, first of all, this is an outstanding knife. I'm definitely liking this knife a lot. It was a surprise. I would not have gone out of my way to look at this knife, and I was really honored that I had the opportunity to check it out. Thank you so much to a wonderful, awesome subscriber out there. But I really, really, really am glad I did. I like it. I like everything about it, the ergonomics. It flows well together. It handles well. It works well. It works. And to me, because of that, it becomes not only a little fidgety kind of fun toy like typical Spydercos, but it also becomes just a great user knife. I really think that this is, if you need a good work knife, the Para 3, the Paramilitary 2 are all great. The Shaman, however you want to pronounce it, is great too. It's a big knife. It's a very robust knife. It's a much, much thicker blade than this. And to me, that would be a really hard, heavy use type of knife. But this is definitely a hard use knife as well. So I think overall, it's definitely going to be that, and it's highly recommended. I'm definitely going to put it in my recommended knives, right? It's not higher end, so I can't really say, you know, higher end knives, but it's definitely a recommended knife. And I think it's worth checking out and worth looking at. If you like Spyderco knives and maybe some of the other aesthetics didn't appeal to you, but this one does, check this one out. It could be a great alternative to a Para 2 or a Paramilitary 2 or Para 3 or even a smock or even a shaman, right? To me, this would definitely be something that I wouldn't mind having in my collection. And at least this type of you know, quality of manufacturing. So highly recommend it. I'm completely blown away. I got a chance to check this out. My mind was changed, if you will, and I like that. I like looking at a knife and thinking, yeah, that's not for me, and then you get it and you're like, that's not bad. That's pretty cool. So that was my thoughts on there. That's my impressions. And hey, if you have any questions about my reviews, my thoughts, my impressions, please comment down below. If there's something you'd like to see me talk about, something you'd like to discuss with me, you have some ideas, suggestions for future videos, or something you'd like to see in future videos when I do an impressions or an unboxing, let me know. I do try to engage everybody in the comments. Definitely our channel is at the point where I have that opportunity right now, so I'm definitely going to do that. I want to be present and available as much as possible, so hopefully if you want to do that, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, you know, that's really kind of it. Let's do, before I sign off, let's go ahead and do some quick close views of that beautiful carbon fiber scale. Let's look at the back here. Let's look at the back spacer. Make sure we get that nice and focused. All right, come on, focus. There we go. And let's look at this right over here. Beautiful centering. And we'll take a good close look at that blade. It's beautifully polished. Nice satin finish on there. Nice flat, kind of beautiful grind. It's a really unique blade shape that works, right? That really works. So anyways, all right, so that's really it. So hey, if you found this content fun, interesting, worthwhile, would you please consider liking this video? And if you've already liked this video, maybe consider hitting the subscribe button down below. I would really appreciate that. It helps the channel to produce more content, to do more things, allows us to grow so we can just, you know, get better and do more. If you've already hit the subscribe button, would you consider hitting that notification button so you can be notified of future content when it's dropped? I would really appreciate that. And if you've done all that and maybe you want to check me out over on Instagram, I would appreciate that. I have an Instagram account that's called robs_nerdy_knives. That's again Instagram, and the account is robs_nerdy_knives. Hey, thanks so much for watching today. Have a great day and a great week, and thank you to the subscriber for letting me borrow that. Bye.